The alarm goes off before sunrise. You get ready, fight traffic, answer emails, attend meetings, solve problems, and spend the best hours of your day building someone else's vision. At the end of the month, your paycheck arrives. For a brief moment, you feel safe. Then the bills come. Rent, groceries, insurance, utilities, loan payments. The money disappears almost as quickly as it arrived. And then the cycle begins again. Here's the uncomfortable truth that few people are willing to say out loud. Working hard is not the same as building wealth. That sounds unfair because you've probably been taught the opposite your entire life. Study hard. Get a good job. Work harder than everyone else. Stay loyal. One day, you'll be financially free. Yet millions of intelligent, disciplined, hardworking people follow that exact formula and never become rich. Why? Not because they're lazy, not because they lack intelligence, but because they're playing a game whose rules they never questioned. Psychology tells us that the human brain craves certainty. Neuroscientists have discovered that our brains naturally seek patterns that reduce uncertainty because uncertainty feels like danger. A steady paycheck feels safe. Predictable routines feel comfortable. But what feels safe today can quietly limit your future tomorrow. And that's where everything begins to change. Because this isn't really about jobs or money. It's about the way you think. If you change that, everything else starts changing with it. Most people believe that wealth comes from earning more money. They negotiate for a higher salary. They work overtime. They chase promotions. Each raise feels like progress. But something unexpected happens next. As income rises, spending usually rises with it. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Humans quickly become accustomed to improvements in lifestyle. The new apartment becomes normal. The nicer car becomes expected. The expensive vacations become annual traditions instead of special occasions. Soon, the higher income doesn't create freedom. It creates bigger obligations. Many people earning six figures still feel trapped because every dollar they earn already has a destination before it even reaches their bank account. This is why income and wealth are not the same thing. Income is what flows into your life. Wealth is what stays. And even more importantly, wealth is what keeps growing without demanding every hour of your time. That's a completely different game. Imagine carrying water every single day from a river to your house. Your job is the bucket. Every day you walk back and forth, collecting enough water to survive. Now imagine spending part of your free time building a pipeline instead. At first, building the pipeline feels slower than carrying buckets. It requires patience, learning, mistakes. There are days when it feels like nothing is happening. But once the pipeline begins working, water keeps flowing even while you sleep. That's the difference between trading time for money and building systems that continue producing value. A job usually pays you once. Assets keep paying you. That doesn't mean jobs are bad. Jobs teach discipline. They develop skills. They build confidence. They provide stability. The problem begins when a paycheck becomes your only strategy. Because time has limits. Every person receives exactly 24 hours each day. No promotion can give you a 25th hour. Eventually you reach a ceiling. You simply cannot trade more time than exists. But here's what most people never realize. The richest people in the world rarely become wealthy because they work the hardest. They become wealthy because they create value that works even when they don't. A business, an investment, intellectual property, digital products, real estate, ownership. These are systems. Systems separate income from hours worked. And that single shift changes everything. Let's talk about a man named Daniel. Daniel wasn't extraordinary. He wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't a genius. He graduated with decent grades and accepted an office job because it felt responsible. For years, he became the employee every company wanted. Reliable, organized, consistent. His managers praised him. Promotions arrived every few years. Friends admired his career. Outwardly, everything looked successful. Inside, something felt strangely incomplete. One evening, he calculated how much money he had earned over the previous 10 years. The number looked impressive. Then he calculated how much he had actually kept. The answer shocked him. Most of it had vanished into lifestyle expenses. He had spent an entire decade climbing a ladder without asking where the ladder was leaning. That realization stayed with him. Instead of quitting dramatically or chasing unrealistic dreams, Daniel started asking different questions. What skills do I already have? What problems can I solve outside work? What could continue creating value after I've finished building it? He spent 1 hour every evening learning about online businesses, investing, marketing, communication, and financial psychology. 1 hour. Not 8. Not 12. 1. At first, nothing happened. Weeks passed. Months passed. There was no dramatic breakthrough. This is where most people quit. Our brains are wired to expect immediate rewards. Dopamine encourages behaviors that produce quick results. Long-term goals often feel invisible because the reward hasn't arrived yet. Discipline becomes the bridge between today's effort and tomorrow's outcome. Daniel understood that. He stopped measuring success by immediate results. Instead, he measured consistency. Every day, he improved by one small step. Every day, he learned something. Every day, he built another piece of his pipeline. A year later, he launched a small digital service based on skills he developed at work. The income was tiny, but it wasn't about the amount. It represented something far more important. It proved he could create value independently. That small victory transformed his mindset. His confidence didn't come from earning more. It came from realizing he was capable of building. Over the next several years, his investments grew. His business improved. His knowledge expanded. Eventually, his side income exceeded his salary. Ironically, he didn't hate his job anymore, because he no longer depended on it for survival. Freedom changes your relationship with work. When you no longer work from fear, you work with greater creativity, greater confidence, and greater focus. That's the hidden psychology of wealth. Money itself rarely creates freedom. Options create freedom. The more options you have, the less fear controls your decisions. Fear is expensive. It convinces talented people to stay in careers they dislike. It stops creative people from pursuing meaningful opportunities. It causes intelligent people to ignore possibilities because certainty feels more comfortable than growth. Psychology repeatedly shows that humans often overestimate the risks of action while underestimating the risks of inaction. Doing something new feels dangerous. Doing the same thing for 30 years feels normal. But the greatest risk isn't always failure. Sometimes the greatest risk is never changing at all. Something unexpected happens when you stop viewing your job as your identity. You begin seeing it as a tool. Instead of asking, how can my employer make me wealthy? You ask, how can this job help me build skills, relationships, knowledge, and capital that create wealth later? That subtle shift transforms your entire career. Every project becomes practice. Every challenge becomes education. Every conversation becomes networking. Every paycheck becomes fuel. You stop consuming all of your income. You begin directing part of it toward your future. This is where productivity becomes more meaningful than simply staying busy. Being busy doesn't guarantee progress. Many people spend entire days reacting. Emails, meetings, notifications, urgent tasks. By evening, they're exhausted, but haven't moved any closer to the life they truly want. Productivity means intentionally investing time into activities that create long-term value. Reading, learning, creating, building, investing, practicing, improving. Those actions may not produce applause today, but they quietly reshape tomorrow. There's another habit that's even more powerful: learning how to delay gratification. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment suggested that people who learned to delay immediate rewards often experienced better long-term outcomes. While later research added important context, the broader lesson still matters. The ability to prioritize future benefits over present comfort is one of the strongest predictors of meaningful achievement. Wealth rewards delayed gratification. So does health. So do relationships. So does mastery. Every meaningful goal asks the same question: can you sacrifice something small today for something greater tomorrow? That's why discipline often matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline creates routines that keep moving even when emotions disappear. If you only work toward your future when you feel inspired, you'll constantly restart. Consistency compounds. Just like money. Think about planting a tree. You don't dig it up every week to check whether it's growing. You water it. Protect it. Trust the process. Eventually, its roots become invisible sources of enormous strength. Personal growth works exactly the same way. Mental strength isn't built during easy seasons. It's built during uncertain ones. Confidence isn't something you're given. It's evidence collected from promises you keep to yourself. Every time you say you'll wake up early and actually do it, confidence grows. Every time you commit to learning and follow through, confidence grows. Every time you invest instead of spending impulsively, confidence grows. Confidence isn't loud. It's accumulated proof. But here's what most people never realize. Your environment silently shapes your financial future. Spend time with people who constantly complain about money, and eventually scarcity becomes normal. Spend time around builders, creators, investors, readers, and disciplined thinkers, and possibility becomes normal. Behavior spreads socially. Psychologists call this social contagion. Habits, emotions, and expectations often transfer between people without conscious awareness. Choose your environment carefully. It may influence your future more than your talent does. Another overlooked truth is that wealth begins with solving problems. The marketplace rarely rewards effort alone. It rewards usefulness. Ask yourself every day, how can I become more valuable? Can you communicate better? Lead better? Teach something? Design something? Write something? Build something? Solve a frustrating problem. The larger the problem you solve, the greater your potential impact. Money usually follows value, not the other way around. Resilience becomes essential because building anything meaningful involves setbacks. Businesses fail. Investments decline. Ideas flop. Projects stall. Rejection arrives. None of these experiences define your future unless you decide they do. Neuroscience shows that the brain remains adaptable throughout life. New skills create new neural pathways. Mistakes become information when interpreted correctly. Failure isn't the opposite of progress. It's often part of the process itself. People who eventually succeed aren't necessarily those who avoid failure. They're usually the ones who recover faster. What happened next completely changed Daniel's outlook. A project he'd spent months developing failed completely. Hardly anyone bought it. The old version of Daniel would have viewed this as proof he wasn't capable. Instead, he analyzed feedback. He improved the offer. He learned marketing. He refined communication. 6 months later, the revised version performed dramatically better. The failure hadn't destroyed his progress. It accelerated his education. That's a lesson many never learn. Outcomes teach. If you're willing to listen. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. Picture waking up without immediate financial panic. Imagine knowing that multiple streams of income continue working quietly in the background. Imagine choosing work because it matters rather than because you're trapped. Imagine saying yes to opportunities because you have options. Imagine spending more time with family, learning new skills, traveling, creating, contributing, helping others. This vision isn't guaranteed, but neither is remaining exactly where you are today. Every future begins with today's decisions, not tomorrow's. Today's. Your job can absolutely become one of the greatest assets in your life. It can fund investments, develop expertise, expand your network, strengthen discipline, increase confidence, provide valuable experience. Just don't confuse the vehicle with the destination. A paycheck can support wealth. It rarely becomes wealth by itself. That distinction changes everything. If you've spent years believing someone else controls your financial future, remember this. Your employer controls your salary. You control your learning. You control your habits. You control your mindset. You control how much of your income becomes investment instead of consumption. You control the skills you develop after work. You control the books you read. You control the conversations you seek. You control whether every year looks identical to the last. Those choices compound quietly. Then one day they become impossible to ignore. Real wealth is rarely built through one dramatic breakthrough. It's built through thousands of invisible decisions that nobody applauds while you're making them. Read one more page. Save one more dollar. Learn one more skill. Create one more solution. Keep one more promise to yourself. Those tiny actions appear insignificant until they aren't. If you've enjoyed this audiobook and want more powerful lessons on mindset, discipline, success, psychology, and personal growth, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Remember, this message was never about convincing you to quit your job. It was about encouraging you to stop placing the entire weight of your future on a single source of income. Your career can be the foundation. Your habits become the structure. Your knowledge becomes the blueprint. Your discipline becomes the builder. And your mindset determines how far the entire structure can rise. In the next video, we'll explore the hidden psychology of success, where you'll discover another powerful mindset shift that can completely transform the way you think, work, and live. You won't want to miss it. As you finish listening, don't ask yourself whether your job will ever make you rich. Ask yourself a far more powerful question. What am I building beyond my paycheck? The answer to that question may shape not only your wealth, but your freedom, your confidence, your personal growth, and the legacy you leave behind. Your future is not created by one extraordinary moment. It is built by the consistent choices you begin making today.